We're just going to wait for Kalila to come back on. I met Kalila about 12 years ago at Crawford. She did a leadership training for us. And just worked with her since then, doing different things, a lot of trainings, workshops, presentations. And for those of you that know her, I mean, she's like joy and candy in a human being, wrapped up into a human being. She's just a lovely, lovely woman. So we'll see if this works. I don't know. Yeah, my Bluetooth isn't on, but yeah, hopefully hers isn't on. Where do you get these hoodies? Rashida, I'm so glad you asked. My friend Christina did them for me. And I mean, it came out so good. I did come up with this idea, and she can recreate it if you like. And it only cost me $40. Like, look at that. Boom, boom. Initially I asked for a super neon green hoodie, but then I ended up changing to a blue. So send me I can DM you guys her Instagram. There we go.
Hi, honey.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm so good. Hey, long time no see.
I miss you. Big hugs.
Long time no see. And
Hi,
I love
everybody.
that you're in the car and you've got all the lighting going on.
You know me.
This is strategic, okay? It's really nice to see your face. Thank you for being on HERstory, which is all about women just sharing parts of their lives, their story. And so let's jump in.
Okay.
Kalila, describe yourself in 3 words.
I am, let's see, I would say passionate. I would say resilient. And I would say the name that I have now, the rebranding, an overcomer.
Yes. And then I'm going to share with you my words at the ends. What would people be surprised to know about you?
That I have my apprenticeship in carpentry, that I really like to work with my hands. I've been under the car. I love my mechanics. Like, I love it. I love getting my hands dirty. I didn't put my first dress, like my first heels was at 25. So.
Okay, hold on. Let's go back to the carpentry thing for a second. So when did you do carpentry?
I got my apprenticeship in carpentry in my mid-20s. I was coming out of school and I had an opportunity to do it. And I went to the college, the actual union, the carpenters union, and I got it. Second in my class, people. That's right. A girl came second in the class.
Can you build us a deck?
Oh, okay. No, I'm not doing that anymore. Not with the chronic pain, but I can design it for you.
That is really cool. And yes, I'm really surprised to know that. So, you know, I know you really well, but can you tell us about yourself? Because not everybody will know who you are. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you name it, I've really been through it. You name any kind of abuse, physical, mental, sexual, financial, spiritual, emotional, molestation, been through it. Been in and out of group homes, foster homes, been in welfare, been on EI, ended up as a executive assistant to a very well-known publishing company. Started the ministry, My Life is a Testimony, 12 years ago. Was doing great, was doing amazing, ended up in a car accident in 2017. Had to pretty much learn how to walk and rebuild myself. 3 years into it, kept going, started to get the things I wanted in my life, and then bam, another car accident happened to me last year. And this time, not only was I hit on the driver's side, but they had to crowbar me out of the car. I'm a woman that continuously goes to school and educates herself. Not only do I have my apprenticeship in carpentry, but I have my basic website design. I have like InDesign and Photoshop, and I have, I have a book of certificates. I'm always learning. I'm always growing. I'm never satisfied. I want to help. I understand.
You do.
I understand pain.
You do.
Liz, man, we're like,
you do.
Our world is in so much pain, and I know it from so many different aspects that if I have the opportunity if I have the opportunity to just simply be a stepping stone in someone's blessing in their life, it's an honor. It really is.
So let's just touch on that for a second.
Okay.
You know, when you weren't well, like you spent a lot of time at home before the pandemic. So how are you experiencing this, you know, third stay-at-home season?
As you can see, I'm not home.
That's
Can
right, you
nobody
were not
hold
home.
me down? Oh no. It's really funny because for those of you that know me, a lot of people they've always known me as this like extrovert. They always are like, she's out there, she's doing things. I became such an introvert when that first accident happened. I had to really get into a place where me and God had a lot of conversations because I was trying to figure out, where's everybody that I ministered to? Where's everybody that I supported? And when COVID happened, it actually became a ministry for me because there were so many people that were now experiencing what I had gone through 2-3 years ago, and they didn't know how to deal with it. They didn't know how to deal with as
Oh, I think we lost her. Did we lose her?
themselves. And it was just, I got to talk people through it. I got to help people. It's really funny. COVID has actually allowed me to become alive again. But I think it was also because I was coming out of, as I started 2020, my body was getting a little healthier. I was getting a little stronger. So when COVID hit, you know, a lot of introverts during this time were like, I'm out, like I'm living it. I get to move in a place before COVID. I moved really slow. I still move really slow, you guys. But now I can move slow when everyone's moving slower than me because everyone's now moving. So it's okay for me to be slow. I'm actually fast when you guys are all at home. You know what I'm saying?
I love that.
Yeah.
So, you know, in this COVID season, what has been the greatest challenge and what has that taught you about yourself?
The greatest challenge came when I got into the car accident last year again. And it got to a place where I really understood, I finally understood rinse and repeat in terms of, you know, I had another car accident. I actually laughed in the middle of it. I was like, what happened to me? And when I realized what happened to me, I literally stopped and laughed. And I was like, really, God? Like, really? Okay. But it is been a challenge because it was like some of those fears that I had from before that I had to overcome to become strong again came back. And I'm talking about, you know, as someone that has an ailment, you wonder if a man's going to see you as, you know, worthy, or if you're just going to be like an asset or deficit in their life. You worry about, I mean, I'm single, you know, and I worry about, can I have kids? Am I going to be able to like leave a legacy for a gentleman and for myself? There's all these other things that I worry about. And I learned rinse and repeat in terms of, I already know this. As much as I've fallen again, we already know how to get up, ladies. We already know how to get up, people. We already know how to get up. Take the mindset, rinse and repeat. It may be in a way that you haven't done it before, but you already have the mindset. And that's what I really learned in this time. Is that making sense?
It is making sense. I just want to affirm you that, you know, if you don't have children of your own, and if you don't have, you know, a male partner, you've already made a legacy. So I just want you just to know, like, you've done it already on, you know, as Kalila. And I hope, you know, you've touched a lot of young people's lives along the way, and also, you know, regular adults. But the legacy is there. It really is. And, you know, you talked about the greatest challenge, but what has been the greatest blessing, and what has that taught to you about God?
Oh, girl. Okay, sorry. We're talking about daddy right now. And if you guys know me, you know that daddy is God. And you know that I call him daddy because I had a dysfunctional life and if with my family, and I never really trusted my father. And if you're in the church, there's that song, he's my daddy, oh, I will not suffer, I will not beg for bread. And I realized if we can call him father, I can call him daddy. It's the same thing, but it's a little more dear to me. And what I learned about God is he's got my back. I have learned, like, as soon as the second car accident happened, I realized what he had put in place before the car accident happened. So I had nerve block injections 2 hours before my accident. And I was
Oh,
telling
wow.
and I was telling my physician at that time, and I was like, guy, I made it back camping. I got back on the water. Like, I had worked so hard to get there. I had a goal that I was going to achieve no matter what my pain was. And when the accident happened, he had already said to me, he's like, you know what, Kalila, summer's almost over. I'm really glad to hear that you've done it. You have all fall and spring to prep for the next year.
Mm-hmm.
My mom, when the accident happened, I realized that I was actually not supposed to be anywhere else. I know that sounds like a really crazy thing, and we hate when something happens and you're like, why did it happen to me? But I was actually faced in a place where I was gonna go help my mom do something, and I could, when you're like, well, maybe I could have been here, or maybe I could have been if God had taken them all out. He had taken them all out. And so I was left with understanding. He was like, I got you. I've already put goodness in you to understand that you're ready to overcome this. I've got you in terms of, I need you to understand that you're in this place because when you say that you're my child, because if you guys know me, I don't care. I will stand up for Jesus and God because he has been good to me. And I didn't know him, and I didn't grow up the way that I did, but two car accidents, and what came out of it was blessings. It was really funny. I had just finished the court case for the first one. And because I finished the court case, my disability funds had stopped and I had to pay out of pocket. As soon as this new one started, my disabilities started coming back in again.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. My car got totaled, but he's like, that's okay, baby. I already told you we're going to level up. And he had another car in my hand. Like, the fact that he had prepped me, the fact that I know it's not about it being materialistic, but the fact that I could put money down to get my new car. I got testimony now. That's what the name of this new car is. And he had already lined me up.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the choice as to whether or not this new act obviously had a conversation with you about something, and this is your opportunity to be like, rinse, repeat, let's go. You didn't learn the lesson the first time. It's time for you to learn it this time. Let's elevate. Because I couldn't speak this way the first time around. The lawyers are always like, keep your stuff on hush, don't say anything. And this time around, I'm like, bun it. I'm speaking for God. I'm doing what it is that he called me to do. And he's got me all the way. And that's the blessing that I have had from this COVID. Like, me and daddy have elevated. It's the point that it doesn't matter. It will not ever matter what comes across my plate. I will always trust him. And it took time to be that. And it doesn't matter how hard it gets. I know that the outcome is going to be something good for me or the people around me that I love.
Yeah.
I have been blessed by God to understand how much he loves me and that I love him more,
I love that. That is like Romans 8:28. You're just saying it in all things. In all things.
I love him.
When we first met, which was like
God.
12 years ago at a leadership training at Crawford.
Crawford!
You trained our student leaders. And then you came back and did an assembly for us. You have always been ministering with or ministering to young people. Why is this important to you?
Because I was really lost when I was young. Because I was on my own since I was 14. Because I was on welfare when I was 16. Because I didn't love myself. Because I didn't know my worth. Because I had been having an abortion and I had been raped. And because we try to pretend like youth and young adults don't feel what adults feel, but we go through the same things that they go through. We have hardships. We see the trials and the tribulations in the home. We question if we're worthy enough. We question if our parents or our friends really love us for who we are. We go through all of that. I know
Yeah.
what it's like to not love yourself. And if I'm the only voice behind someone saying, keep going, keep loving yourself, look in the mirror, if I can have that because people have done that for me, I will do that for other people so that they don't have to learn the lessons that I learned at 35 and 40. Yeah, guys, I'm kind of old. But
No, you're not old. Hello, I'm 43.
we look good. You
It's
guys won't believe
okay.
this, but me and her are the same age.
I'm not
Love.
ashamed of my age
I
at
am not ashamed.
all.
Girl, we look good. She's my
It's
yummy
okay.
mummy. You guys don't know this. I've been calling Liz my yummy mummy from the day I met her. um, our youth go through stuff, Liz. And I'm
Yeah.
tired of the world saying that they don't. And I'm tired of parents thinking that they don't, or saying you're too young to understand love. You're too young to understand the pressures of life. They're not. They're
No,
not. If they're breathing, they're going through it. And
it's
and with us
true.
doing the show, like Chronic Pain Conversations, we were talking about depression a few episodes ago, and we were talking about something else. And the youngest person to ever get diagnosed with depression and anxiety was 6 years old. 6 years old. So
Yeah.
the reason why I love our youth and our young adults is because the church sometimes they're like kids are cute, but I don't want to touch them as an adult. I mean, as a youth. But when you become adult, oh, I want you to minister in the church.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
I
mean,
need,
come on.
I I needed our youth to know. I needed our youth to know. I need you guys to know. It doesn't matter what you go through at whatever age you are, 13, 16, 18, 21. If you need someone behind you saying, keep going, keep smiling, it's going to get better. If I need to be an example of how to rise up or how God can still make something out of you, make a mosaic out of all these broken pieces, I
Mm-hmm.
will do that. If our youth need to have one person that's just like, let's go, or be real. I'm tired of us not being real. And our youth and our young adults are real. They know when someone's
Mm-hmm.
genuine. They know
They're
when
very,
someone's honest. They do. And so it's just like, if this is what I got to be so that, people, I'm not going to say that people didn't help me. People did help me, but I'm willing to help someone else because I know what that pain is. And I
mm-hmm.
don't want someone else that I love to have the pain that I have. And I don't want someone else to, let the enemy go into their head and think that
Yes.
they're not worthy about something when they are. I don't have time anymore for the broken hearts. I have time for us and our family and the people that are around us and the people that we minister to rise up. I have time for us to build stronger communities. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I love our youth and our young adults. They are
Beautiful.
so resilient. Sorry, I
Yeah.
get a little passionate.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this.
Okay.
What do you want our young woman to know that you didn't know growing up?
I was thinking really hard about this when you sent me the message. You guys are gonna mess up.
Mm-hmm.
I want you guys to understand, like, we put it on ourselves, our families put it on us, our friends put it on us. We're gonna mess up. And
Mm-hmm.
if you can understand that messing up actually grows you, that falling actually builds you, that instead of it making it shut you down and make you go into your shell like a turtle, I want it to make you blossom. I want you to understand that rain is what's going to help you flourish from being that seedling in the dirt to come out and blossom and be something wonderful in years to come. And so I want our women and even our guys, if they're on here, to know, like, at a young age, you're going to mess up. And more resilient as you get older. And it'll help you if you can accept the fact, that you're going to mess up. Then when it happens, you're not going to get overly anxious. You're not going to get into depression. You're going to feel pain. You're going to feel,
Yeah.
you're going to have those feelings. But if you understand that this is part of life and you accept it at a younger age, it makes growing up a lot more easier. When the
Take the
hard
pressure
times
off.
come, you're just like, it's part of life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can learn from everything, especially our failures, but also our negative emotions. They teach us something about ourselves. And even though that is a painful experience, it actually reveals really good parts about us.
It does.
It really does.
It really does.
And I hope, you know, I love to talk to the boys about that, you know, it's okay to be emotional or be sensitive or to be an empath, because it actually shows really good parts about you. Um, so let me ask you what the best piece of advice that you've ever gotten. What is that?
It came from my sister.
Oh.
And we've had our differences, but it's been something that has stayed with me for my whole life. And she said that, you know, I have seen you fall many times. Is this going to be the place that you stop? You have a choice at this moment right now, whether or not you're going to allow this situation to break you down and keep you here, which is fine. If this is where you want to settle, this is fine. But if you don't want to settle and you want to keep going, have your pity party, have your issue.
Set a timer.
Set a timer, get up and keep going.
Yeah.
And so every single time something happens to me, and trust me, guys, there's a list. I get to choose. Is this going to be where I stop? Or is this going to be where I keep going? Or am I going up another step? And that has been the most powerful thing, because she told me I got to choose. She gave that power to me. And she didn't make me feel like, you know, instead of taking it away, she was like, choose. Choose how this situation is going to define you. Choose how you're going to move because of this situation. And I think that was the most powerful thing for me.
So good. That's so good. Nancy said that her dad would say that we are like diamonds.
Yeah.
Understanding what a rock has to go through to get to its true beauty.
But
yeah, you know, choose, you know, is this where you're going to stay? And that choice, that self-autonomy, is a very important thing that sometimes we kind of try to beat it out of our kids, because when they're too independent, we're like, stop that, don't do that. You know, you're too headstrong or whatever. But those things in our kids, those are the things that we look for in our leaders. You know, always going their own way. They want to do their own thing, that whole thing. It's not a bad thing. I mean, yes, it's rough when you've got little ones that always want to do their own thing, or they're really headstrong, but that makes like a bomb leader. Yes.
And what people don't understand is that if we shut down those characteristics when we're young, when they're younger, you've shut it down. Don't expect it to come out when it's 2025, right? You shut it down. So if you want somebody that's going to be a certain way when they grow up, let them be that way as they grow up, and learn how to handle being that way or having that characteristic as they grow up. They need to experience it to be what you want them to be. And I get parents that say, oh my God. And I said, but that characteristic that is bothering you right now, which it could bother you, it's going to be amazing when she's 25. And then they stop and they're like, whoa.
It is. It really makes you really think about, you know, how you grow this human being, how much freedom they're going to have to express themselves and whatever. And I really admire parents who were able to do that so well, that it was okay that, you know, their kids were wearing pajamas at the supermarket, or, you know, no socks, or just dressed however they wanted to, spoke their mind. It wasn't the whole shh, don't do that type of thing, but allowed their kids that freedom to express who they were. I always admired those parents. Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. And
it is.
Yeah.
It is. So for the women and the men, because men do jump on here, for any human being that jumps on here and who will listen to this HERstory, I would love if you would give them, okay, wait, I'm going to share you my 3 words to describe you, and then I'm going to ask you.
I'm scared to hear what these are, but okay.
Oh no, they're so good. Give
just don't make me cry. Okay? Just don't make me cry.
I'm not going to make you cry. It's 3 words. Okay. So your words were what?
Resilient. Determined and overcomer, I think.
Overcomer. Yeah. So my words for you are passionate. So passionate. And actually, when you logged out and logged back in, I actually described you as like joy and candy wrapped in a human being.
I can understand that. Everyone's like, you can't be in her place and not feel happy. Like you
Yeah,
just,
you're very passionate. You are an encourager.
oh,
And I remember that, you know, when we had left Ottawa to come to Oshawa, and we were kind of going to jump into these family ministry roles, and I was like freaking out big time.
I remember.
Yes, I know you remember. You stayed with me for like a good hour or 2 hours and just like talked me down off, like I was tripping, and you encouraged me and talked me through that. And so encourager. And then the third one, and I don't know if this is I don't even know if this is like a proper sentence, but you're like a gritty hustler. You're
I'm a hustler,
so
babe. No, joking.
gritty.
What do you mean
Yeah, you're a
gritty?
hustler because, and you're always trying something new.
Oh,
And what I mean by gritty is like you fight, man. Like, you know, we had a women's retreat a couple of years ago, and like you were still struggling with the walking, but yet you led an entire workshop and still took care of the prayer room, and then like knocked out right after. So I was like, okay, like that is super gritty. You were okay doing that.
it's, we forget, we forget that people have done it for us. We forget
Yeah.
that. We forget that somebody, I might not know her story, but the reason why I put the prayer room together is because it's not just for everybody else, it's also for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The reason why I do that stuff is because someone did it for me, you know? And
Okay.
I just keep understanding the brokenness that I want to make sure that they have that space, you
Yeah.
know? Um and
And
I
you
guess
do it like over and over again. Like you have grit. You really do. You keep doing it. So those are my words for you. So please, like for any human being who's on here, what final word or final sentence of encouragement do you want to give? And maybe it's something that you needed to hear this year.
I've been actually finding myself saying this a lot to people, and it's
Mm-hmm.
this: you are worth fighting for. Your heart, your happiness, your love, your environment, you are worth fighting for. But the only person that can do your push-ups is you. The only person that can set the boundaries on the way that people respect you is you. The
Mm-hmm.
only way that you can go out and get your happiness is by saying that this is what I want, and other people will follow. You are worth it. And it doesn't matter where you come from. That's why I use my life. That's why my life is a testimony,
Mm-hmm.
because there's nobody that can come to me and say, well, I did this or I did that or I did. I'm like, keep going. But if somebody else hasn't told you that, love
Mm-hmm.
yourself. And if you need to hear it, go in front of the mirror and say it to yourself so that you believe it. So that
Mm-hmm.
when somebody else comes around and says that you're not worth it, you've heard it so many times that you let what they say to you fall off your back. But you can fight. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay. And the other thing is, it's okay for you to fight for it. That's
Yeah.
the other thing. Like people, why are you so special that you should be able to get? Why am I so special that I shouldn't?
Because
I
you're
had one of my spiritual
extraordinary.
moms sit back and say to me, you know, who are you so special not to go through certain things? Right?
Mm-hmm.
If Jesus went through it, why can't you go through it? Well,
Mm-hmm.
how are you so not special that you can't have things? My mom turned around to me one day and she's like, you're determined to be a millionaire. And I looked at her and I was like, why not? Why
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't I be a millionaire to be able to take care of you and put you in a place so that you never have to worry? Why shouldn't I be in a place that when my body hurts in the cold, that I have a second home that takes care of my body and it's warm and it's sunny?
Yeah.
Why am I not worth it? Right? And that's what I want you guys to know. Fight. It's okay to fight. It's okay to fight by yourself and alone, and it's okay to fight with people. But
Mm-hmm.
fight.
I
Fight,
think I
people.
have to ask you this, and I didn't give this question to you earlier. Why do you think it is so hard, and I'll just throw just women in general, why do you think it's so hard for us to fight, to be seen, to be felt worthy, If people cross boundaries, we're afraid to be like, oh no, that's wrong. What is it about like our childhood or our adolescence where we don't feel comfortable saying those things? Like, no, you need to stop.
So it's a lot of things, and I've learned it because of not just my life, but because of my studies too. So one, it could be cultural. One, it could
Mm,
be the fact that, it could be, for example, in the Black culture, you're supposed to be seen and not heard. So when you've grown up and you've been seen and not heard, that's what you grow up in your whole life. So
mm,
you don't want to disturb somebody, right? You hear things like, our business isn't meant to be out on the street. But if my
right,
business isn't out on the street, how is the community going to help me? Right?
right.
It's so many things that it comes down to, how our parents treated us,
Yeah,
how the school treated us, how the government treats us. It comes down to so many different things: our color, our skin, our age, like, we had to fight to be seen as women. You know what I'm saying? We had to fight for the vote. And we think that just because we have the vote, that it means that everything's okay. It's not.
no,
We still don't have
not okay.
equality, right? They
No.
still don't think that we can do stuff. And, I had the contractor in my place the other day, revamping my home so it could be more accessible. And half the tools he used, mine. You know what I mean? But that's because I was taught I could be anything as long as I don't hurt somebody, right?
Right.
And we have to sit back and realize, and we can't get mad at this is one thing that it took me a long time to realize, was even if our parents grew up in a certain way. So I'm going to use my lineage as an example. I'm probably not that far back. Like, I'm talking, what, maybe 4 generations before slavery, 5, not even.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather was from Venezuela, and someone has once said to me, it must have been really interesting what he had to go through to marry a Trinidadian woman. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
culturally acceptable.
Right.
And then you've got the fact that we got the slave mentality where you do certain things, you hit your kids. Like I said, I grew up in a dysfunctional family, I'm not going to lie. But then one day I had to actually realize he doesn't actually know better. That person doesn't know better. If you grew up learning that the sky was red the whole time and someone comes around and says it's
Wow.
blue, it's not, it's so foreign to you.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of a lot of us, this generation, earlier generation, has come from, we've come into this Western society, and we've learned a lot more about freedom, independence, respect, and all these other things. But our parents might not have.
Yeah.
My mom's learning from me, right? Like, I didn't even realize it, but you know how I always say, have a blessed day, right? I started hearing my mom say that the other day. And I was just like, I'm 43 and I've never heard my mom say that before. There's things that I see her do now because I've actually become the influencer in her life.
Mm-hmm.
And we get mad when we think that they should be influencing us. But if they don't know better, you can't get mad, right? And it's not that
Wow.
they don't love you. Maybe they're loving you the best that you can, but that still affects how you see yourself as a woman.
Yes, it
What you
really
saw
does.
in the household, how
Mm-hmm.
your father spoke to your mother, how my brother talks to my mom now because of what she saw, how my dad spoke to her,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And it didn't sit right with me. And I was like, and that's God. That was God going, you changing this, baby. I made you
Mm-hmm.
so we could change this. But
Yeah.
if you truly look around you, if you study not just your family history, if you study your environment, the culture that you live in, the city that you live in, there's clues as to why we're seen the way that we're seen in terms of women,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we wouldn't be having this conversation when we have like a different culture that lifts women on high, right? We
Right.
wouldn't we wouldn't be having this conversation at all. It
Mm-hmm.
depends on what part of the world we're in, because there's certain parts of the world women, they rule, they run it, right? um
Actually,
Go
I
on.
just have to say,
Go on.
I think women run the world,
We do.
but they're not recognized in all parts of the world as running the world.
No, they're
And I'm
not.
not trying to say that to be like a man hater in any way,
It's not.
but women they bring life, they bring order, they bring um you know, this kind of love and the stability that a lot of our countries need and have. But yeah, not in every culture are they recognized as being those contributors. Some in a lot of places, you know, it's you're silenced. You're not a real human. Yeah, and you're just
And
kind
it's
of seen as commodities.
and sometimes it's not meant, men don't mean to do it, but they've grown up with that. So if you have someone that's grown up for 30 years being taught that, you
Mm-hmm.
know, this is how a woman's supposed to be seen, that's what you're going to follow. That's what you learned, right? But at the same token, there's a place where women have to also stand up and go, I want to be seen. And I think that's
Right.
why me and you have this conversation, because I was like, oh, no, you're going to see me. You're going to see me today. And I've
Mm-hmm.
had to have conversations with bosses
Mm-hmm.
where, you know, I'll be like, you give bonuses to your whole sales team, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one that's working late and overtime. I'm the one putting in
Exactly.
80 hours on 40-hour shifts. Where's
Mm-hmm.
my bonus and my recognition?
Mm-hmm.
Right? We feel like, and it's not just women, we feel in general that we shouldn't have a voice or we shouldn't stand up for yourselves. The
Mm-hmm.
only person that's going to stand up for you is you, baby.
It's true. And Shorty Yenna said you have to change your own story.
Hi, Sharon.
Yes.
um, but
Right?
it's, yeah,
It
they
you're like it
really
goes
do.
back to what you were saying about are you gonna is this where you're gonna stay? And I love how, you know, you have rebranded My Life as a Testimony as the overcomer, but I also believe that, you know, you are also the empower her. And I just want to thank you
Ooh, I'm
so
gonna
much
have to borrow
for
that.
you're
Empower
like
her.
the our generation's encourager, basically. Well, I
Thank you,
mean, we're the
baby.
same age, but like
But
these
you do the same
younger,
thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, as
you
much as
know,
I might be on here, she created a platform. She said yes to being a woman's ministry leader. She said yes to being a family ministry. She said yes to being a being that would create the space and the programs for us. I honor you, Liz. As much as you sit here and you talk
you're
about
so
me,
sweet.
Mama, you fight for us. Stop acting like you don't. You fight for us. And I love you for it.
I
Right?
love you too.
You could have said no and you didn't. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're in here, throw up some hearts for Pastor Poulet, because you know she does this every day. She puts women on there, and she is just always for us to have the platform, Mama. This I can speak today because you
I'm so
decided.
glad that you can speak. And I'm so glad that you've shared your story. And for those of you who don't know Kalila personally and want to, like, just drop her a DM and she'll just be your friend. Like, it's amazing. And you will have a brand new encourager in your corner. It's such a blessing. And so her handles are going to be on the video when I post it. But Kalila is also like available for workshops, presentations, trainings, speaking engagements. And she's always down to do some crazy adventure. So if you
Oh
want
yeah.
burritos at midnight, you just call Kalila.
You want to go to Niagara Falls at 2:00 in the morning? Let's roll.
Yes, if you want to go to Niagara Falls,
Let's do it.
let's do it.
This is what I'm going to say, Liz.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one thing I will say. The most successful people in life are the ones that failed the most.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, so
yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for the reminder. So the next time any one of you guys make a mistake or you fail, just be like, yes.
Yes.
Yes. When you get that bad grade, you just scream in your class, yes.
Right? It means that you got to learn something new. You got to see it from a perspective. It's okay to fall and to get back up. And the thing about it is you already know how to do it. You've been doing it from the time that you were born. You've been falling on the playground and you still got back up. Right?
Yeah.
You let other people get into your head as you were growing older. You've fallen many times. You've fallen off the bike. You've fallen so many times. But it's okay. You already know how to get back up.
Okay. Beautiful. Thank you for that reminder. We all needed to hear it, especially now. Thank you for joining. And for those of you who commented and watched this conversation, so glad to know you. And if anyone here is watching and you know somebody that wants to be on Her Story, just send me a DM. Love to meet you. Love to have you on for you to share your story. Kalila, bye.
I love you, my Liz.
Love you too, honey.
Bye,
Take
yummy
care,
mommy.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.